everyone. Thank God it's Friday. Welcome to Donu's World. Today is a very special day in this series because I think I've told you before that I was kidnapped in 2015 from my home in Port Harcourt. And I've told that story a number of times on television stations like Arise, and in the UK, I also spoke to the BBC, and I've also written about my experiences. And you can also find a solo account of the kidnapping horror on my podcast, which is called Africa Here and Now. But this is the first time that a man I have mentioned in all of those accounts of my kidnapping, this is the first time I'm sitting down with him to tell the kidnapping story from two points of view. And so I want to introduce you to my dear, dear friend and brother, Dr. Uche Igwe. He looks chubby and baby-like, but he's actually quite a mature person. And he's a fellow of the London School of Economics in the UK. And when I was in captivity, he was the person who negotiated with the kidnappers on my behalf. So Uche, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. It's nice to be around to tell these stories, and recall those moments. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Okay. So this is my house in Abuja. But let's rewind to where we both were in 2015, which was in Port Harcourt, down in the Niger Delta, for those of you who are not Nigerian. And I was asleep, or should I say getting up, waking from sleep in my bedroom, when two armed gunmen burst in and, to cut a long story short, took me away and incarcerated me in a hut in the creeks. They dragged me out this way, and I'll show you where we came out. And so they frog marched me. This is the courtyard in my family home in Port Harcourt. They frog marched me here, one of them on either side, pushing me. They ignored my mother, who was very elderly at the time. And we came out this way, through the courtyard. This is the living room. We came through the living room and to here. And there was a Jeep waiting outside. I think there were a couple of other guys in that Jeep. I can't even remember the details. I think there was a second car with more men in it. I was blindfolded, and they proceeded to drive down to the main road. So anyway, this is the Kobara family residence in Port Harcourt, and this is where I was snatched from by hoodlums. Now, there was complete silence for a few days. They made no attempt to contact my people. But I think after about 4 or 5 days, they did finally ask me for some phone numbers of people they could call to discuss ransom payments. And Uche, this is where Uche came in. So Uche, tell me what had happened. People tell me that up till the time you got involved, there was a lot of news coverage of my abduction. So you talk now.
Oh yeah, I think there was a lot of news coverage. First, it came as a rumor, in our circle of friends, and then it hit the media, and there were media updates every day. There was a lot of coverage, especially in the Vanguard, and then with other news platforms. And I was in a bit of panic. I was preparing to travel to Germany, and I had approached the German embassy in Abuja here. They gave me a visa, And while I was preparing to make that trip, I was talking to my wife, and we sort of had this apprehension that, you know, Donu, that may be all. I mean, Donu may not come back. So I was a bit apprehensive. And I was thinking about it. I said, well, I am very helpless in this matter. I felt very helpless. But again, something told me that I shouldn't make that trip. So I prepared for the trip, bought the ticket, and lo and behold, the call came through to my phone.
Which day? Day 5, I think.
Yes, I think it was day 5. So I had your voice. I say, Uche, where are you? Please, what can we do? And all of that, and all of that. Momentarily, I was so terrified, and I didn't know what to do, but I knew that I wasn't going to make the trip. So the first thing I did was to cancel my trip, inform those who were expecting me to speak in the conference. Say, look, listen, this will not happen. So I thought about it momentarily. Incidentally, I was not in Port Harcourt. I was not anywhere near Port Harcourt. I was, in Abuja here. And something told me I should drive to, our mutual friend's house, the former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi's house. And I was in real panic while I was driving because I needed to get to him and sort of hear from him before I speak further. So I drove to his house in Guzape, and I just drove in. And for some reasons, he probably is far more experienced in matters like that, being a former governor. So I remember I rushed to him. I said, "Sir, this is the telephone call I got. She's alive." Because, of course, there were all kinds of speculations and fears we had. So she's alive, and this is, I got a call from them. What am I going to tell them? Indeed, I asked him, what do I tell them? Because I had no experience at all about doing such things. So,
Let's rewind a little bit. When you spoke to them,
yeah,
I spoke to you. Honestly, I was in a daze. I don't really remember
yeah.
what I said to you. How did you end the call with them?
Well, I told them I was going to call them back.
Right.
When you spoke to me, I was very frightened, but after a while they took the phone from you and then told me that, look, listen, they have this baritone voice, your sister is here, go and give us. I mean, they asked for some ridiculous amount, maybe like $1 million or something.
It was 2.
So $2 million was a ridiculous amount. Hang on a minute. I didn't have any dollar anywhere. So I said, okay. Before I told them to call back, maybe like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, I drove to the, Governor Amechi's house in Gozape, and I told him, and I told him whether I asked him whether I should continue to talk with them because the kind of money they talked about was very, very ridiculous and, far from my reach. And I took some very early lessons from people. There were one or two persons who, had spoken to kidnappers in the past. And so, yes, he said, go ahead and give them an offer, make them an offer. And that's when I picked up courage and told them, say, hey, this is what we could do in terms of, I made them the first of, I can't remember, maybe like 3 million or 4 million, some money. I made them an offer. Oh my goodness, they were bitter.
From $2 million to 3 million naira.
$2 million to 3 million naira. They caused me. They say, are you a fool? We're going to kill your sister. We're going to kill her. You're a stupid man. Oh my goodness, I didn't know what to do. And of course, the former governor had left and everything. I was left on my own. And I was in so much panic that sometimes I would look around as if they were, they were chasing me or something because they were speaking as though they were next door. They say, look, listen, we are seeing you and all of that. So, to be fair, I didn't sleep the first few nights because here we are confronted with $2 million, and here I am offering them three. Say, look, shut up. Are we in Swale Market? Are we in Creek Road Market? Are you mad? Idiot. And they will bang the phone. So yeah, those were the that was how I responded to them at the very first time. And to be fair, the negotiation or the discussion broke down because they were talking about 3 million. and I was talking about 2 million, and I was talking about 3 million naira. I mean, so they thought that I was either stupid or serious or even mad, you know. So that was their initial reaction.
So from my end, um, I heard the abuse. I heard them saying that you were an idiot and a bastard, and the money you were offering was a joke because they had seen some of the names in my phone and were convinced that I lived a wonderful, rich life. It was only later that I showed them my bank balances because I had bank apps or whatever. I had my bank balances on my phone, and they didn't believe me when I showed them how much money I really had. They said that even if the very modest amounts I showed them as my bank balances were true or accurate, that my phone was full of the names of big, well known people who could clearly afford to spend millions of dollars if they gave a damn about my life. And that in any case, the family home from which they had abducted me was very luxurious and spacious. So they weren't buying this story about no money. Okay? I don't know, Uche, who you then, because I know Rotimi was one of the people you spoke to. I know also from what by now my sister had flown in from the UK, Leila, and Shell had kindly sent an advisor to talk to my family and assist because they were very experienced in kidnapping. At that point, apparently, nearly 200 of their staff had been abducted. So they knew the drill. And I believe the British government also, High Commission also offered some advice and support. And the whole media, both here and abroad, also chipped in. So there was this sort of like groundswell of support, which I wasn't aware of, but you were.
Yes, I think that I wasn't also the only person they spoke to. Apparently, they spoke to Uncle Sam, and Uncle Sam probably made them some offers too.
The owner of Vanguard
Yes, the owner
newspaper,
of Vanguard News, the publisher and the owner of Vanguard newspapers.
where I had a weekly column.
Where you had yes, a weekly column. I think they spoke to Uncle Sam, and apparently Uncle Sam made them an offer. But for some reasons, they could not continue speaking to Uncle Sam. Even though they got angry with me, there was sort of, I don't know what to call it. I was not angry at them. Okay, so that sort of created an opportunity for a potential relationship. So I think that they had to get you to again speak to me, and then you mention some specific names. Say, look, listen, go to this person, go to this person. Have you gone to this? I think they forced you to start calling some of the names in your phone and sort of sending me to those persons.
I remember one of the names that really stands out now because he's still in the news. A lot of those people were in the news then, but they're not now. One of them was Nasru El Rufai,
Yes.
who was then the governor of Kaduna. Had he become governor at that stage?
Yes, I think he was a governor of Kaduna State at
Yes.
that point. And of course, we had this mutual friend. What's his name now? Who was his chief of staff?
Jimmy Lawal.
Jimmy Lawal at that time. And I had visited Nasiru actually. I had visited him and then met Jimmy and everyone. So they were calling to say, look, listen, go and visit Nasiru. But again, something happened in between. Like you said, Shell got involved, and one fantastic individual, his name is Agans, I can't forget.
Yes.
His name is Agans.
I heard about him later.
Agans got in,
yes,
got in touch with me. He was very professional. He calmed me down, gave me a lot of encouragement, and gave me a bit of a crash program for a few hours about what to do. Very comprehensive training. And after he, shared a lot of tips about what to do, how to communicate. I think at the center of it all was communication. And so when the call came again, the time when they had to get you to start mentioning names, I had gotten the training from Agans. So I was sort of more confident about how to communicate with them. And
so he gave you a master class.
Oh yes.
In negotiating with hoodlums.
Oh yes.
Basically. Yeah, everybody told me afterwards how fantastic he had been.
Oh yeah, the training was a turnaround for me. And something I recommend very strongly because I didn't know how to speak to somebody who wanted $2 million when I had 3 million naira. And I also knew that you didn't have any money stashed somewhere. So so I was careful about giving them offers because I also knew that if we gave them offers as we were told, we were going to give them the money. So I didn't want to give them offers that we will have find difficult to find, I mean, to put together. So,
Can
so
I
that,
can I briefly interrupt and explain why Shell got involved?
okay.
Because people may wonder why did I work for Shell? Well, the answer is my father was one of the first Nigerians to work for Shell as a senior staff in the 1950s, and I had some very good friends who still work for Shell at that time. One of them is Yemisi, and they appealed to the managing director, Osage, very lovely man, and that was how I think AGANS was activated as a resource that was put at
Yes,
Uche's disposal and my sister's disposal.
yes, I think that was a turnaround, if you ask me. So I became more professional, more tactical in speaking to them, in trying to make sure that all the big names were mentioned, either visited them or pretended to have visited them, and all of that. And we were raising the money slowly and systematically. And we sort of, became a bit of friends. They would call me, they would say, Uche, Use, that's how they called me at that time. They say, Use, how far, how much have you gathered, and all of that. And I'll tell them, look, listen, I've gathered so and so amount. Give me a few hours. There are a few other people I need to speak to. But listen, this woman you have, don't mind the way she speaks English. She has no money. She has no money anywhere. So listen, she has no money anywhere. And these her friends, they have deserted her. And look, listen, I really don't want you to keep her there. But if you're talking about money, she has no money. So I think that initially they were doubtful because, of course, Donu spoke the best of English. But when they spoke to me over and over, and we became a bit, I don't know how they call it now, we became a bit friendly with each other.
The kidnappers.
Yes, the kidnappers, sort of started trusting me. And then when I now told them, I don't know, they sort of believed that we didn't have money. And that was the time they sort of came down from the $2 million and now started encouraging me to gather as much as I could gather. And interestingly, the money was increasing slowly but systematically. Every time they called me, there were, friends chipping in here and there, and it was improving.
Well, you mentioned Uncle Sam, the owner of Vanguard, and I remember that he offered them $250,000 for my life. And there was jubilation that day because even though they'd asked for $2 million, they didn't really expect $2 million. I think they'd have been happy with $250,000. And that's what Uncle Sam offered them. And they were celebrating. They even poured me a drink. We all said, "Oh, thank God, it's nearly over." Because I became quite friendly with them. That's another story for another day, or maybe for today later. And then suddenly, Uncle Sam went quiet, didn't take calls anymore. I later discovered that when they realized that he had withdrawn,
Yes.
I was told that he had been warned. So Uncle Sam was told that if he paid that kind of money for one member of staff, or that all of his senior people would be grabbed, and that he certainly wouldn't be able to pay $250,000 for every single person. So he withdrew, and I remember when they realized he had withdrawn, the one who was their leader, called Osman, went completely ballistic and beat me up.
Mm.
So all the jubilating and the sharing of drinks, the kai kai, the whiskey, it evaporated into a storm of hostility that that offer had been withdrawn or had gone silent. So
Yes,
yeah,
I think it was when the Uncle Sam got silent or withdrew the offer that they started looking for an alternative. And then here we are, they got to me, and I was trying to give them only 3 million naira. So that's why they were very angry with me. But again, somewhere along the line, they thought I was the only person, as it were, because every other person withdrew, and said, look, listen.
Was that a strategy?
I think it was a strategy
Because
because
I remember feeling very let down. I called Dr. Birabi and Kenneth, my cousin, and everybody just seemed to melt away. People stopped taking calls. And I thought, what the hell?